Okay, it's recording now. Um, so is it okay if you could tell me your life before the war started?
Yes, it was high school and adventurous summers. Life was great, although there was the depression, but we all suffered alike, so we didn't think it was a big deal. We that was rather seemed normal. So I had a good life and was jolted on December 7th, 1941. America as well.
Yeah, because Pearl Harbor, it was bad. That was America's entry into World War II.
Yes, exactly. You know, Europe went to war in 1939, and the World War I. We thought that Europe should take care of their own problems, and we have ours. And so when England declared war on Hitler's Germany, we didn't join them. Although we made armaments for Britain and sustained them with a lot of food and things like that. But technically, we were neutral.
After Pearl Harbor was bombed, when were you drafted or did you volunteer?
I volunteered, but in 1941, let's see, I think I might have been 14 years old. And so I would be unacceptable. So when I became 17 years old in 1944, 2 months before high school graduation, I finally talked my father to sign for me to go into the U.S. Marine Corps at age 17 and 10 days old. And my high school graduated 2 months later. They gave me a diploma anyway.
Yeah, what was the training like for you?
Say again, Shelby.
What was after you volunteered? What was the military training like for you?
Oh, it was quite a shock. It wasn't glorified like I thought it was. You know, high adventure and like I've been living before. So I went to Parris Island, South Carolina for basic training. We call that boot camp. And I don't know how many. I will say there was about 30 of us in a platoon. And we did everything together. And we were 30 different individuals come from various parts of the United States. And we were all made into like one person, one frame of mind. And that was the idea, was to avoid all you cared about yourself and establish where you work together with other people. So, and it was very, very hard. It wasn't difficult physically. We did a lot of marching, and so naturally everyone had blisters and that kind of thing. But
ouch.
You don't want to give in. You know, you hang in there and you just do it. Of course, I had been a runner, a long distance runner in high school, and a big swimmer, and so I was in pretty good shape.
What rank were you in?
Well, what rank did you say?
Yeah, which rank?
everyone goes in as a private unless you are going to officers candidate school. So I was a PVT, a private, and everyone else was a private. We were boots. And so that paid $50. They had raised the soldiers and Marines and sailors' pay and Coast Guardsmen. They paid $21 a month for a private, and they just raised it to $50, which was a gigantic pay raise. So we accumulated some money. We were not allowed to go anywhere to off base to spend it. We trained day and night. Get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go to bed about 10 or 11ish at night. And all this time was doing something, either listening to lectures, drilling, and being indoctrinated, if you will, into the U.S. Marine Corps.
Okay. Where were you deployed for during the war?
Yes. Okay. After 2 months training at Parris Island, South Carolina, I was transferred to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, where I joined the 29th Marines. And I was only there a few days, and we shipped out by what I call cattle car on the railroad. And we were transferred to San Diego, California. And this took 3 or 4 days. And we stopped along the route and exercise. And of course, we had places where we stopped and ate. And we got to see a good part of our beautiful country. And we made cat calls at girls when we passed by these little towns and cities and so forth. It was still adventure.
From World War II, was there a battle that you remember?
I'm sorry, Shelby.
During the war, was there a battle that you remember? A battle, like a fight.
Oh, a battle, yeah. Oh, well, we don't get to that right away. We have to be trained.
Oh, sorry.
We arrived at San Diego, California, and we were there about a week or so, and we were placed aboard a troop ship, and we had a 17 a day voyage. I like to say cruise with quotation marks to Guadalcanal. And on Guadalcanal is a very hellish place. It had been taken earlier during the war, and we trained under tropical conditions there, malaria everywhere, skin ulcers prevalent. We trained there for 7 months, day in and day out, maybe Sunday, an exception to wash. You could wash our clothes and catch up with things like that. Very difficult time. And so we left Guadalcanal 15th, 1945. And we didn't know it until we were well aboard in the route that we were going to Okinawa. And that's where the battle begins. I think what you referred to.
Was there a tradition that you and your units used to do after you won a fight against the Japanese?
Yes, after the war, I've been back twice to visit the battlefield and to meet with the Okinawan people. The Okinawan people were second-class citizens of Japan, treated very badly by Japan, and not all that much better now. But yes, I've been back twice, and we had battles in the north of Okinawa, and we have very big battles in the south of Okinawa. And this battle for the 6th Marine Division and the Army divisions that were there, this took place from April 1st, 1945 to June 20. And so that's April, May, that's 2 months and 22 days. That's a long battle.
Were there any friends that you made that were lost in the war?
Oh, yes, I lost a lot of friends in the war. Yes, indeed. I knew where their hometowns were, and I knew what they did. You know, they were mostly young lads like me. We had some older combat veterans who were like our leaders and our officers who had combat experience. But yes, we lost a lot. I can tell you that I was in Fox Company, Battalion, 29th Marine, 6th Marine Division. And Fox Company is comprised of 240 Marines. A total of, we don't know for sure, but we have a total of 630 Marines being in Fox Company. Well, if you subtract 240 from that figure, you'll come up with a lot of guys that were lost or wounded.
Were you injured during the war?
Pardon me? Well, I was wounded on the 49th day on Okinawa, and I was flown out in my first airplane trip. I was flown out to the island of Guam, which is quite a bit these days. And from there, I was sent home. I shipped, improvised hospital ship to San Francisco, where I was placed on a hospital train and sent to U.S. Navy Hospital, Portsmouth, Virginia, which would be near my hometown.
What was it like in the hospital?
Rather nice. Of course, in the few days that I was in the hospital in Okinawa, they were not pleasant, but I had a serious enough wound to be sent back to the States, but I recuperated quite nicely. And the hospital let me go home for 30 days convalescent leave.
Were there any long or short-term injuries that you have?
Well, I had a gunshot wound on my right calf.
Ouch.
And I'm going to say that it aches a little bit every day, especially when I talk about it. But it's not hurting right now.
Okay.
Yes, I'm aware of that wound every day, and it hasn't really bothered me a lot. I'm lucky. I'm the lucky one. A lot of guys were not so fortunate, but that's how fate is.
How did you celebrate the end of the war?
Well, I was still in the hospital in Portsmouth, Virginia, U.S. Navy Hospital, and we knew that it was going to be over 2 or 3 days before the official signing. And so, but when they did sign aboard the USS Missouri, the battleship in Tokyo Bay, I went into town in Portsmouth, and there were ships galore there, sailors everywhere. And for me personally, I kind of teared up a little bit thinking about those that didn't make it back. But are you able to see me now?
Yes, I can still see you. Why, what's wrong?
Oh, that's okay. But anyway, all these sailors were from different ships, and they began drinking a lot of hot beer, and they were celebrating at first, very cheerful and joyful. But each ship started fighting the other ship,
Oh.
and all kinds of fights. And they were clad in their white sailor uniforms, and they were completely dirty, a mess. And it was very difficult to break up these fights. But I could see it all, and I rather enjoyed that. That was my VJ Day, as it's called, Victory Japan.
And VE Day is Victory Europe over there?
At Japan, yeah, VJ, Victory Japan. And that was on September 2nd of each year.
How'd you what was your life like after the war ended?
Well, I stayed in a little longer and I was assigned aboard a Marine detail aboard a cruiser, and we went to Europe, and Europe was Europe was completely damaged, and there was evidence of battle and buildings bombed and everywhere. We spent a lot of time in Britain, mostly England and also Scotland. And then we went to Le Havre, France, and there we were able to, half the ship was able to go into Paris for 3 days. And when we came back, the other half went in. And during that time, in April, the King of Denmark died. His name was King Christian X. He died, and on April 30th, we marched in his funeral parade representing the United States. And after that was all done, we came back to the States and decommissioned the ship. And I was soon back in civilian life.
So, what did you do after you were discharged?
Well, I did several things. Immediately, I didn't do anything but look up old buddies, and we had a little bit of money given to us on a monthly basis. It was called rocking chair money. You would get $20 for 52 weeks. And eventually I went to school in Great Falls, Montana. I went 2 years. And from there, I went to work for U.S. Customs. And I worked in the anti-smuggling group, mostly out of Tampa Bay area. My official title was criminal investigator. And we didn't wear those silly uniforms that you see inspectors in. And we were involved in all the contraband that was being brought into the States. And I think the biggest reason we were involved in it, the government wasn't getting any of the action. So that's just an opinion.
Were there any medals or awards that you received?
Yes, the Purple Heart. I have a picture of that. If you would like, I'd send that to you. The hospital commander in Portsmouth is pinning that on me. And there's a lot of lesser awards, which I don't think they mean anything that I done, a special, We all did our job. And that's what the American people wanted us to do. just our job. And we were not looking for medals and heroes and that kind of thing. The heroes are the ones that didn't come back. They allowed for us to survive and go on to raise families and live a normal life.
Had to make the ultimate sacrifice.
Yes, yes. And I must laud the American public too. And the people in the States were marvelous. The war was lost just on the basis of what America could produce. We produced 5 times what all the other countries, allies and our enemies combined. We produced 5 times more than that. And so we were in it to win it, and we did. And of course, you know that we had the Marshall Plan later on, and we gave a lot of that money to our enemies, and we don't want to fight them again. And but you have to beat your opponent, like Japan and Germany, soundly. You give them a sound beating, and you'll make friends out of them. You won't have to fight them again. But like in World War I, Germany wasn't soundly beaten. All the war was fought in France, not Germany. So World War II was just a resumption of World War I.
Yeah, because Germany went to a depression-like era after they lost World War I.
That's true. They refer to it as a stab in the back. And France put undue reparations on Germany to pay them, for the damage. All the fighting was done in France. And so Germany balked at that.
Were there any ceremonies that you went to honoring World War II veterans like yourself?
Were there any
ceremonies you went to honoring World War II veterans just like you?
Oh, I would have to name dozens and dozens of people that done heroic things and so forth. You have to remember, I was a very young. I was just barely 18 when I was wounded, and a lot of my friends were very protective of me and gave me good guidance and good counsel. And I was in 60mm mortars. I was a gunner. And if I made a mistake, I could kill some of our own people. And so I took that quite serious. And I was very proud of being a 60mm mortarman and how everything worked.
I think that was all my questions.
Say again?
I think we finished going through my questions.
Oh, you want me to name someone by name?
Say that again?
You want me to name someone that I think did heroic things?
Sure.
I think that would be unfair to the ones that I didn't name. But yes, I can. Yeah, we called each other by our last names. It wasn't Errol or Henry or Hank or so forth. My name is McCallum. It was Mac. And yes, I'm going to think of the one that I like best. He was born in Canada and came to the United States. He dove with the underwater demolition team on Okinawa before we landed. And he came back and was transferred back into our unit. And so I would think that he did a lot. I'm just trying to think of his first name, but Chasen was his name, and Jim Chasen.
Mm-hmm.
He was an extraordinary individual, and if you were to query his name, you will find it. Another one would be Jim Day, who was a corporal, and he retired from the Marine Corps as a major general.
Mm.
He did a lot of brave things on Sugarloaf Hill, and you will find that if you're doing the Battle of Okinawa, you will find that Sugarloaf Hill comes up more than any other subject. It's actually 3 different pieces of terrain. It's more of a triangle than anything, and that's where the most people died, Japanese and American, and they were in caves and field boxes, and we had to dig them out.
This is just a question I just thought of. Did you meet a soldier who was in the Japanese army during World War II?
I have met them after the war on Okinawa in the year 2000. I was there during the G7 conference. President Clinton was there. I met a lot of Japanese soldiers, but I met one in particular, and although the battle was over with in 1945, many of them surrendered until maybe months later, and they were living off of American mess halls at night. They would rob and steal food and that kind of thing.
What's one thing that from the battlefield that you would never forget?
About going back to Okinawa, I think going back to Okinawa, I met a lady who was a nurse, and I had returned some pictures for someone that, you know, I might have, I didn't get to bring them home, but a lot of us, they stowed their personal belongings in caves to hide them from us and from the Japanese, and to protect them. And so we found those, and we kept those for souvenirs. We kept flags, battle flags, things like that. So anyway, when I was wounded, all my possessions were removed from me and left on the battlefield. And so, but anyway, some guys brought these pictures back home, and the Okinawan people who are not Japanese, DNA wise, they wanted those pictures back. It meant so much to them. So I brought some back, and I met this lady who was a teacher, and this was in the year 2000, and they were so elated to have those pictures, and they put the pictures up in a central place, and people come and identify it. It's like the last remembrance, or the last thing they have of a departed ancestor, a parent, and so they were very happy to get those pictures. And when I first went back to Okinawa in this G7 conference, I was asked by, there were 2 ladies and a man, like cleaning. I had like a suite of rooms, and they asked me, are you in the military? I said, no. And they said, have you ever been to Okinawa before? I said, yes. They said, when? I said, 1945. And every one of those 3, they came up and hugged me and so forth. they were very happy about being liberated from the Japanese.
Hmm.
They like slaves. They were economic slaves for sure. And as I say, they were second-class citizens. So I was shocked by all that, and I appreciated that very much. And when I left my quarters there, just before I left, they came with a bas-relief of Okinawa, of Shuri Castle, gave me that, gave me some souvenirs of Okinawa. And I didn't think this was the proper thing to do, but I left, I think, a $50 bill in the room or something for that. And I felt like I should do something for them. Mm. But I've been back twice, and the same response there. They're lovely people. They live a long time. They have a good diet there. And I think they're among the longest living people in the world. And
well, I get to meet them when I go to Okinawa.
Yes, they eat a lot of sweet potatoes, sugar cane products, all kinds of vegetables, and they do eat fowl and things like that. But they're known to live a long time.
I think that was all my questions, because I can't think of any more.
Well, this was too easy, but it was very pleasant. And are you going to like present this as for a grade in your class?
Like here's the thing. Since it's my part of my Girl Scout Gold Award project, I either had to like I'm designing a website to put all my interviews in. Like this is gonna be part of my website. So once I watch watch it and do a little bit of editing, I'm just gonna put it on my website and so people could see it.
Yes. I think it's a good experience for you to to do these things. It when you do it hands-on, that means you can do other things and go on to be very adept at doing these things. I think you'll go a long way, Shelby, and you just keep doing what you're doing. And you apparently come from good parents, and you just keep on trucking.
Thank you. It's also a way to celebrate my grandpa's memory. He was a World War II medic who was in Japan.
In Japan? In the occupation of Japan?
Well, I don't know, but it was almost at the end of the war, but I still give him credit since he was drafted before the war ended.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a way to celebrate his memory.
Yes. Oh, he's passed on, has he?
Yeah, he died from heart failure on August of 2020.
May I ask how old he was?
92. If he was still here, he'd be 93.
Well, he had pretty good genes.
Yeah.
I've lucked out too. I have to thank my mother and father for that, and common sense when it comes to eating, and people ask me, about, I think I beat the mortuary table a few years. People ask me about my longevity, and I say having a positive attitude and no hatred for anyone, and try to help people whenever you can. So you'll do well, and I appreciate what your uncle did for his country.
Yeah.
That's great, and I'd like to see more, especially of people of color. They don't get enough of credit for what they did.
Yeah.
name you a lot of things they did in Europe and so forth, very dangerous things, like the Red Ball Express. I don't know if you know about that or not.
What is it?
Well, they're carrying ammunition and things up to the front and
Oh,
up to where you get shot at. And quite often these vehicles laden with ammo and so forth are blown up. A lot were killed.
mm,
So anyway, I want everyone to have a better life than me, better health, peace in the world. And
me too.
yeah, if I think we're about through, let me just say this. I think that we should maintain a strong military deterrent, and we should not go around threatening people, but we just put it out there and they can see what we have. And we don't need to appease any country like Russia or China or give, by appeasement, I mean, like concessions and, that kind
Yeah,
of
like
thing.
giving into their demands.
Yes, exactly. And so we need to, I'm very serious about that. And I think that we can also improve in how we're educating our young people. Too many young students go into college and they learn about the sociology of gardening in the U.S. and silly things like that, and they've got big loans and so forth. I think they should learn about mathematics, science, the economy, geography, history, and learn the language and the proper use of it, and learn how to be a good conversationalist and to explain things. And if you're equipped like that, and it's very easy to do that, everything will turn out well. You'll get a good job. You'll be with nice people who think like you. So I hope that for the online generations that are coming. So I think that's about it, unless you have some other questions.
No, I can't think of any more.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking with you. I think.
It's been a pleasure too.
Yes. And so hang in there and do good to yourself.
You too.
Okay. Bye-bye, Shelby.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.